Good afternoon. This is a meeting for the subcommittee of the Ways and Means. On this committee is myself, John Kingston, as chair, Mr. Fred Sinella, and Mr. Anthony Caggiano are members. I believe Mrs. Aisha Milberrialis is on Zoom.
Correct. Aisha, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
We'll do the salute flag, I guess. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America, and to the for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I can't hear John now.
Here. We got it. Probably one card. Okay, on the agenda is the carry forward. And we might as well discuss that first.
Does anybody need a copy?
I'll take one. I read it and I think I'm up on it, but I do.
Do you need one, yeah?
If I could, just to be expedient, do you mind if I go through this quickly?
Not at all?
Okay, so Lincoln door locks, I don't think anyone has any questions about that. And if someone does, correct me. The school improvement plan, I understand the 3 paras at the Paul Revere due to, just not having enough classrooms and bodies and whatnot, that's fine. And the nurse is obviously fine. The only questions I had was, could you explain the operations admin and exactly what their duties are? And basically what I'm looking for is, are they gonna be with students, not with students? Is it like it's more of a background or back office type role? And that was my question.
Yeah, it's kind of a hybrid, and did I not send you guys the job description, or did I? Did I send?
If you did, I didn't see it. I'll apologize for myself, but I didn't see it. But if you sent it, I believe you.
Okay,
I'm not
I think I
questioning
put it on the email that had this list of requests, but mostly what the person would be doing is taking over some of the administrative responsibilities around testing and data. So they would be overseeing all of the access testing, the MCAS testing, all of those pieces, which now are happening between the math, the English, the science, and the access testing for all of the EL students. It's happening, if you add it all together, about 5 months out of 10 of the year. And so when the principal is pulled away from everything that's happening in the building in order to set up those schedules and identify which kids have different accommodations that they're able to use on the testing, and put all that in place and line up the teachers that are going to do the testing and provide coverage for the testing. It gives the principals and the assistant principals very limited time to actually be in classrooms, working on curriculum, making sure there's rigor in the curriculum, and working with teachers in PGT time, and having that time to be around to do the work of improving instruction. And we know that that's one of the main things that we want to solve, is making sure that we are focusing more on instruction and what's happening in the classroom. And so this position would create the space for principals and assistant principals, and this person would be like another assistant principal. So the jobs would overlap a little bit. So for instance, right now, the assistant principals deal with any kind of disciplinary or especially Title IX hearings. And now this person, when it's not a testing cycle, would take the lead in that work so that the APs could stay focused on the classroom and the day-to-day and what's happening with the instruction. But when this person is responsible for a testing cycle, if they're in the middle of the 8th grade math test, the APs would still do that. So their jobs will very much overlap. It'll just create more time for the principal and the APs to spend with teachers, with students in the classroom. That's the idea of it.
My issue is this, I guess. You have to give them. I've given this some thought. I've gone back and forth, to be honest with you. What's to keep a current assistant principal for applying for this job?
Nothing at all. They're welcome to. It's an equal pay. They would be in the union.
Well, that was my concern, because it doesn't seem. I would say in today's climate, I don't think I'm talking out of school. Today's climate, being forward facing with students is challenging. And this job seems to be more back office type. So for some, they may prefer that. My concern was if, people are more, maybe people after a little wary of things, may want to apply for this, and that's fine. but if it's paying the same as the forward-facing job, they don't seem equitable to me.
Well, they're still gonna be forward facing. These people still are gonna have a caseload of teachers that they have to evaluate, so they're gonna be in the classrooms as well, day to day. It's just what specific tasks they're focused on and taking the lead on.
But
will
they're
be a
still
little
gonna
bit
be
different.
less time in front of kids, they're gonna be sitting more in front of a computer. They're doing scheduling
Probably, yeah, probably a little bit more, because they're gonna be doing this, but even like the scheduling that the major scheduling outside the testing that we're talking about. Happens throughout the spring anyway, you know what I mean, that's where we wanna get the next year's schedule set up. And that usually takes
I just
about
didn't know.
3 or 4 months,
I
yeah,
just didn't know if this should have a different pay scale, like a less of a assistant principal, that was my thought, and I'm not saying it right, it's just something I was thinking about, because again, it's not as forward facing. I mean, I think the challenges today are the forward facing jobs as far as I'm concerned.
well, but the other thing that this person's gonna be responsible for is tracking student attendance and communicating with families. So it's still very much forward facing. There is gonna be some more of that kind of paperwork stuff that you're talking about, but they're still fully engaged with families, with kids. In the classroom, with teachers, doing evaluations, helping families get connected to services, making sure the kids are in school every day. Working on that chronic absenteeism, which is very much engaging with kids and families and the student support teams.
I mean, I think that's all I have to say, I just thought, I don't know, I thought it was, I don't know.
Some of the special ed compliance pieces for testing, I mean,
Yeah.
compliance pieces for testing and accommodations.
I wasn't trying to suggest that there wasn't enough work to do, I didn't mean that by any stretch, I
Yeah.
just thought, you know,
When you compare.
I don't wanna say an easier job, I don't know how to say it, it's a different type of job, and it may suit someone very well, but if someone's still doing more of the assistant principal job, and this to me is a lot of it. More paperwork oriented, and I just thought the assistant principal was more on the front lines, I don't know how to say it.
Aisha has her hand up.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't see your hand, I apologize, I don't have.
no
that.
worries, no worries. I think what I'm getting from you, John, is that, you're afraid that we're gonna lose our assistant principals to these positions and then have, that difficulty of trying to fill those positions. Is that a concern? Is that,
I don't know if the jobs are equal.
so you're talking about the pay?
Yeah, for me, at least to start, maybe, I think, in my opinion, and I'm not educated, but just based on, having a management degree and all that good stuff, I just think this is like it's above a teacher, obviously, but is it the same? It's not, I mean, they may be performing the same duties as an assistant on an occasional basis, but they're gonna be doing a lot of other stuff that they're not. I mean, to me, they're gonna be in front of a computer a lot more than that assistant principal would be. The current assistant principal, excuse me.
Well, the good news is we are educators
No, I'm just trying
and
to,
the principals
against the
help
position.
practice
I'm not against the position, I didn't say that, I never said no, I didn't vote it. I'm just trying to, I just don't know if to me, they're not equal. But if that's the will of the committee, fine, I'm just expressing my opinion, which that's what I'm here to do. So, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, it's fine, it's just expressing my opinion. Different. Mr. Song.
Diane, earlier on it was mentioned. Would they be union, would they be teachers, would they be administrators? You're looking at a starting salary of $110,000.
Yeah, these would be administrators, they'd be in the Revere Administrators Association.
All right. What's the current makeup of your middle school now? For example, Susan DeAnthony, you have a principal, and what else do you have?
2 assistant principals.
2 assistants. So you have 3. What about the Wayland, same thing?
The elementary, yeah, Wayland has the same, so the larger elementaries have the same structure, a principal with 2 assistant principals. The smaller elementaries, namely the Paul Revere and the Beachmont, only have 1 assistant.
Well, this is gonna be just middle school, so this
Correct.
is along that end of it.
Right, yeah,
I think that what's going on the last couple of weeks, I think $400,000 can be used elsewhere. I mean, you've got administrators, let them administer. And I'm gonna date myself, and I was an assistant principal, myself a principal for 805 kids. So I know things have changed, there's more demands put on it, there's more wants and everything. I think this is a luxury at this point for $420,000. I mean, we're looking for police, we're looking for security people, we're looking for everything under the sun. I just think at this time, this is a luxury. I know there's a need, you wouldn't be putting it in there. But I think that the last 2 weeks have to kind of open our eyes a little bit more as to what is going on and dealing with specifics to get us back on track. Because if we continue like this, you could see the new high school going down the drain. I mean, the taxpayers, I never received phone calls, never. But between the newspaper and the media, getting handed with this.
I know, but I do wanna point out that what was in the newspaper and in the media was a whole lot of lies.
I'm not, you know, you've countermanded, you've done yeoman's work, I'm not criticizing. I'm talking the average public
Yeah.
that does not get involved,
Yeah,
the ones who are paying the fee.
yeah,
And we're creating 3 jobs at $110,000.
Can I just, so I think one of the ways to think about it is that you're taking pieces of each of their jobs that they have to do, because they're all, the 3 of them are responsible for the compliance pieces and the testing pieces and the data pieces, which, like John said, it seems like it's in front of a computer thing, but you're taking those pieces off of 3 people and putting the bulk of it on one, so that those 3 people can go be out in the hallways, in the classrooms, evaluating teachers, supporting students, meeting with
sure there aren't
families.
disruptions in the class.
Yeah, meeting with families, and I think about when I did, as a principal, I was lucky to have veteran APs. But that compliance piece took them back into their offices when I needed them out into the hallways and into the classrooms. So I think another way of looking at it, like I hear what you're saying, John, but it's taking those pieces and putting it on one person and saying, you take this, so that we can go in and you can go in when you're not doing the compliance pieces that we all need to do. It's just another way of looking at it, the way I would think about using personnel and
But when these people were hired, they knew what their job was gonna be, the current ones.
sure.
So now you're having, I mean, and I don't know what the pay scale is, this is up and going, to start somebody at 110. Because Mr. Kingston made reference to a teacher with another assistant principal be able to apply. So if you have a assistant principal was hired a year ago, is that salary 110 already?
Yeah,
Could be a thing.
So that would
Probably even
no
more
one
than
else would be bidding for it because.
Aisha has a hand up too, just so
I'm
you know.
sorry. Anyone else want anything?
Yeah.
Sorry. Hold on, Aisha.
Couple, just a couple things I want to ask. On the operational element, so we're not gonna be, if we agree on this, and the 42,000 goes away, correct?
Correct,
Okay,
that's my suggestion.
no,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, but what I'm asking you is. I see exactly what you're saying, and it gives help to the assistant principals and so on. Can we look at it and maybe take a double take on the salary itself?
Well, we would have to we could say that we don't want it to be an RAA position. Or we could try to negotiate with the RAA that it would be a different, create a new level, or. So right now, the assistant principals are level 2 administrators. We don't have a level below that. I mean, that's something that we could look at doing. I can tell you that typically. They think of salary in terms of the number of days that they have to work. So going below that would probably mean that they would wanna have to work less days, and I don't know how that's,
Just goes through. Oh, go ahead, Aisha, go ahead. No.
Well, Dr. McCoba actually made a lot of the statements that I was going to make, but Freddie, you had mentioned the elementary school, and so Dr. Kelly, when I had heard the numbers there, I'm wondering, it sounds like we're going to need, these positions in the elementary school as well. I can only imagine that even understanding that they're 2 different entities, that if the middle school is struggling, if we're just playing a numbers game, then I imagine the elementary would too. I guess my question is there, I get that there's plenty of work for this position, but is there a possibility or any thought into like having them work in both the elementary and middle schools, or is that not possible?
So one of the differences is that the testing is so much more intensive at the middle school level than it is at the elementary. Because at the middle school, they're testing every single grade for MCAS. Where at the elementary, they're only testing grades 3, 4, and 5. So it's not the same level of testing. There's
Okay.
also not the same level of challenges around Title IX and issues like that we see once the kids become adolescents. So would every elementary principal tell you they would love to have this position? I guarantee you they would. I don't think it's a priority right now. Might we go in that direction someday if we have more money, if there's something that comes after SOA and we have more money? I wouldn't oppose it, but I just think that where the real need is right now and where we're struggling to make sure that we are seeing rigorous instruction in the classroom and that people are able to be present and teach the kids how to behave and act and what the expectations are is at the middle school and the high school level.
Okay,
And so this position was already created at the high school. Thank you all very much for that. The idea is to mimic that at the middle school level. And
okay,
there could be some shifting, if we do create these, to John's point, there could be some shifting. I know, like, when I think of some of our administrators, some of them are really data driven. And they love diving into data and doing analysis and crunching numbers and looking at spreadsheets. If we have the assistant principal who's like that, they might want to go for this job. And that's okay. Like, our key thing is to make sure we have the right people in the right seat on the bus.
Okay.
And we certainly can find other good assistant principals to backfill, and some of that might even take some time, right? So before, if one of our sitting assistant principals was gonna say, I wanna go for this job, we would say, okay, but first we have to find your replacement before we're gonna actually move you into that job.
That was gonna be another
You
one of
know?
my questions.
so that was my follow-up question as well.
Position, we're not gonna put a sub in the class, right?
Correct, yeah.
Because
the
that was
kids are
another
the
concern I
priority,
had.
Yeah,
By the time this gets going, say 8 weeks from now, just say, you sat in front of the same teacher for 8 weeks, now we're pulling that teacher out, you're getting hopefully not a substitute. And I just worry about, we have trouble hiring teachers now, it's
Yeah.
school has already started. I think
right,
it's a
our
challenge
priority is
to
absolutely the
replace.
classroom, you know?
Yeah, if I could just finish my,
I apologize.
no, it's okay. No, you're the chair. This is your subcommittee. I just want to offer my last thoughts are that I think that there's no doubt that these positions are essential, especially, this is like a small piece of the puzzle that we're working at, right? So we have these high expectations on administrators, and those expectations are not going to be reduced in any way. And so in order to help them achieve those expectations, which, obviously has a beneficial, effect on everyone who falls underneath them. I would just, for what it's worth, I realize this is your subcommittee, but I would be in support of these positions. That's
Thank
it. Thank you.
One thing, yeah.
On have you worked out what the requirements are gonna be for the position?
We did, I'll resend you all the
I
job
apologize, you
description.
might have been, I apologize.
I mean, is it a master's beyond, is it in a specific?
They need to be licensed administrators or licensable by the Department of Education as an administrator, which is our standard for all administrative positions. Let me just see if I can find that email, I'm gonna resend it to you all.
We have a discussion.
I'm going to get it done.
Yeah, I didn't want to.
Diane, I alluded to at the beginning that money's better being spent. Last meeting we had, there was a discussion on keeping nurses. And I guess it ranges from 150 a day to 500 a day. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think that if someone can get $500 in Boston, they're not gonna come to Revere. Or if they're in Revere, they're looking for the $500 one. So I just made reference that at this point, 400,000 would be, take it back to the drawing board and cut the pie a little bit differently. All right, thank you.
One thing on the same topic, the operation admin. Does it include all middle schools or just certain?
All 3 middle schools, that's why it's 3 positions.
And if, like I said, That's my question. Thank you.
Okay, if it's all right with the committee, I'd like to take a vote on the carry forward as is. Dr. Kelly, at least for me, you've convinced me that, I like the idea, that someone in a current position could move over to that. Because I agree with you, if someone did want to, if that was, they were, strong in,
Mhm.
I think that would be great. Yeah, so, I'd like to take a vote on, carry forward and then we'll go on to the next item. So, roll call,
Wait, is there a motion?
a motion to, I apologize,
I make a motion to, so,
motion to accept Dr. Kelly's carry
carry
forward,
forward.
list as, outlined.
And that includes dropping the 3 campus supervisor middle school positions. Which I was saying, I was suggesting if you did the administrative position, then we wouldn't need the campus supervisor position.
I did have, if I could, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said, yeah, I forgot about that, I apologize, if I get back up, I'm gonna withdraw the motion. I understand it was an increase, so someone that's doing translator / security would get a bump?
Yeah, that was the idea of that. And their work would include doing more work with families and students around the attendance piece only. But the idea with the operations administrator is that they would do that work in addition to the testing. The idea was if we didn't do the administrative position, we could at least have that to do the work on the chronic absenteeism.
So would those people still be doing security work, or just have added duties, or doing a whole different job?
If we created these other 3 campus supervisor positions, it would still be a security translator with more responsibility that included connecting with families, but if we have the administrative position, we don't really need that.
Okay. All right, so, again, I'll make the motion, I guess, I apologize, my fault. So, the motion is to adopt or agree to accept the superintendent's, wish list, as we've called it. Except for the 3 campus supervisors at middle school, because we're providing them with a full-time person. The other thing I really like to, is so, second.
A substitute motion, please. A motion made to accept the superintendent's recommendation with the, operation administration middle school deleted.
Yeah, so the original motion, roll call on the original motion. Yes. Yes, no. But I do want to stress that I hope that if one of their current assistant principals, and I don't know anyone, it's not my point. I hope that if one of them wants this, I hope they get it. I think, because I think it will play to their strengths, potentially. So I think you made a great point, Dr. Kelly. I have to be honest with you. You convinced me because I wasn't going there, but I understand what you're saying. And I know it's probably not something we should discuss, but I'd like to. If this position had to be eliminated going forward, just human, 4 or 5 years, we don't have the money. How does, and I don't have the RTA, I did the REA contract, it's not in front of me. How does that work?
It's very
Is it-
similar to the RTA, there's a seniority clause. So these folks, whether they're the new, what are we calling them? Operations administrators or an assistant principal, they're equal in seniority, so whoever had the most number of years in the district would
That was my
get a
concern.
job, yeah.
You've been an assistant principal, say 20 years, and I don't know anybody at the store numbers. Assistant principal, 20 years, you take this job, but now you're first on the firing line because the job
Yeah.
can get cut. And I'm not saying it's going to be, it's just something I was thinking about, because I don't want to see somebody get hurt.
Right,
Oh, you're in a new classification, sorry, guy. Sorry. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, the next item, the Lincoln Early Childhood Playground. The Lincoln School, I was gonna ask you, and I didn't get a chance. The Lincoln School is one of our oldest schools. That's a fact. I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I know the Lincoln and the Beachmont are the oldest. I don't know which is which, to be honest with you. But, the early childhood lot, I've been by there a number of times. You invited us to the first week of school to go visit the schools, and I went back there and looked at it. Having spoke to a few parents that reached out to me about it as well. It needs some work. So, I did a little investigating. Elle Baker is kind of the playground guru for Revere, so she gave me some cost estimates. So, this is rough, so I'm just trying to allocate some money towards that. It would probably be about between $55,000 and $65,000 in order to, what that would give us is a different surface. Currently, there's, wood chips there, and also a lot of stones. So kids, when a kid falls on the stones, kid falls on the wood chips, they're supposed to kind of break the fall, there's rocks underneath it. Possibly another piece of playground equipment there, and also the gates that, close, aren't the best, and, we were at the, Mr. Kaj and I were at the school this morning, and, the gate mechanism itself isn't the best at all, I had trouble opening it, and one of the kids, I guess, got a little nick from the way the apparatus works. So she estimated, between 55 and 65,000, and that would include a contingency. So I would like to put that money in the budget, and let the powers to be do what they have to do, to make that happen. Hopefully that preliminary work, that paperwork could be done over the winter, possibly early spring, that could be, turned around. I just think, it's important for the kids, they need the space, and it definitely needs some work, I mean, just by going looking at it, you can see it. So I'd like to, allocate that amount, I would say 65,000 maximum amount of money to, work on the, Lincoln Early Childhood Playground.
Did she say anything, John, about if there might be another round of kaboom grants that we could apply for?
She said, she was very clear about that, because we don't open that lot up to the public,
Mhm.
we couldn't do that.
Okay,
And I really don't wanna open it to the public,
Yeah,
I
no.
don't see it, I see it, I don't wanna be, I wanna keep the integrity of the playground as it is. I did ask her that question, yeah, I did. First thing she said to me, she didn't even let me ask it, she said, you're not gonna get anything for this because it's, you guys closed it off, and I don't wanna open it. If someone, I'm totally against that, so, and.
one of our challenges with the playground at the Lincoln is that it's so isolated off the street, like if you look at the playground at the Wayland School, for example, we
Wide
can see exactly what's going
Exactly,
on. And so it's easier to have that open to the public. The Lincoln is a little bit unique in the way that footprint is.
And just to add, the Lincoln does have a public playground
That's
out
right.
there, and it's very nice, I looked at that as well.
Kaboom did that one,
Right,
yeah,
yeah, no, years ago, I did the project at the Revere. I went to the Revere school when I was a kid, I was there from 7 AM to 7 PM that day, working, I was talking to Ella about that today, Al Baker.
yeah.
So I just wanna thank Al Baker for taking the time to talk to me and getting back to me very quickly. She was out a couple of days this week, and I really connected with her this morning, because that was her availability, she got me this before the meeting.
Yeah, and
So-
Alp has been tremendous to the school department with
No,
all of the
absolutely. No,
playground
no,
pieces, so we
absolutely,
definitely owe her
absolutely.
giant kudos.
No,
Yeah.
I'm saying it publicly, I
I'm
appreciate it,
agreeing,
and
Yeah,
I told her that. So I'd like to allocate $65,000 to be used towards that playground. You folks can work out the details, but, what else said that would kind of get me at this point is a, rubber surface. And then, possibly 1 or 2 pieces of, additional playground equipment. She'd also put in, her original projection was like 85,000, but she was buying another huge piece of equipment that was about 23,000. I don't, she said it'll fit and they can make it work, but I wouldn't mind taking that out. 1 or 2 smaller pieces plus the rubber would be fine for me. The problem is, and she's made this very clear, you could say, okay, we'll do the rubber now, we'll add the pieces later, it doesn't work that way. They pour the rubber and the pieces have to be in place, so you don't want to add something later.
One of the things you want to get into is the gate
Yes, that's
Yeah.
part of that project.
and the rubber around that metal was exposed.
Yeah, I talked to Al about that, she said that it was concerning to me.
Right.
There's a metal pole that houses a sign, like, basically talking about the park. I talked to Elle about that, she said, John, we put those up all the time, we've never had a problem. I was just worried about a kid running into a metal pole in the middle of the playground. There's a bench that kids do sit at right there. They're kind of blocking it, so a kid doesn't run into it full force, but she said, John, we never wrap those in anything, not to be a concern, so I'll take her, no, I felt the same as you. But anyway, that would include the gate, the only thing I would request, I know this is gonna take some time, but maybe the gate could be done, forthwith. Cause they're using the playground probably for I would think another month, I would. The gates are best,
yeah, they'll go out all winter as long as the weather is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I don't expect this to be done in the winter, it's obviously
Yeah.
gonna be a springish project. The other thing, and it's not on the agenda, but it was because we were at the Lincoln, so I'm gonna use the Lincoln word in the agenda. The principal spoke to Mr. Caggiano and I know I've spoke to the principal at the beach one in the past as well about the courtyards that they have. At Lincoln, I've been up to the courtyard in Lincoln 1,000 times. We've talked about it 1,000 times. At Lincoln before, the windows opened out. So you really wouldn't want kids out there, because the kid could literally run into a window.
Yeah,
That was the thought at the time. With the new windows, which look phenomenal, great, they look awesome. They open in this way, so it wouldn't affect the kid. My thought is to really, and I told the principal, and I talked to Mr. Ball in the past, not recently. I think something if they get us to it before the next budget cycle, maybe it's something we could approve and maybe do over the summer.
yeah, and we
But-
can even work with Carl now. We have, Mike Parent who is retired, but we bring him in to do all of our tree stuff. I'm sure we could hire him to come in and do some stuff. And the other thing we can do is talk to JROTC and the high school guidance counselors about doing a service learning project. Cleaning up and
Well, the beach, I haven't looked at the one part, I haven't been to the beach one to look at this year, but
this is
we're at,
great.
we're at the Lincoln today. It's neat and clean. I'm not,
Yeah.
it's not a question of, oh my God, this is overgrown. It's just they want to try to use the space. And my thought is, we all agree the schools are overcrowded. And if we could create some kind of space out there for people to go in better weather, that would help.
Yeah.
So
The only problem,
it's expensive, I think, if you don't mind, sorry. So I said to them, look, get back to us in January, February, what your thoughts are. We'll try to put some numbers together and maybe try to incorporate it into next year's budget. It's not for today.
Okay,
And they understood that, or at least the principal of the Lincoln understood that. But I want to do the child one.
the problem with the courtyard when it was open was beautiful. And then it fell in disrepair. Rocky tried to keep it up, Frank Willow, it really was well. You've got classrooms on both sides of it.
Yeah.
So you gotta be careful during the day for distractions and everything else. Very perfect after school or something, definitely underutilized.
and what helps with that now, Freddie, is that the building's air
They
conditioned,
can close the
so
windows.
they can shut the
They
windows.
got
If
brand new,
there's
nice tight
a group
windows.
out
The
there.
older windows, we used to have to put a bookcase because you get Temple, when the kids walk
Yeah.
by, open. Just like, that Temple thing.
Yeah.
How many years we've lost the window?
But anyway, that's for future thought, only
Now,
because
going back to the gate, the school department has tradespeople.
Yeah.
The city has public works.
Yeah.
In the interim, see if they could,
We also have an ongoing contract with Collie Fence for if there are any issues with
because
fencing in
you
the
seem to
district,
think
so.
that that's something that should be done.
yeah, only because, I mean,
Right.
the other stuff can't be done right now, because by the time you get out, goes out to bid and all that process, I mean, we all know how that works.
And then the
So-
only other thing I wanna mention, this is okay because we've met our regular budget meets our demand for net school spending, but anything that we're talking about right now with the playground or a fence or whatever is not net school eligible. Right, Matt? I want to speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, we can slot that $65,000, we'd be putting it in a capital improvement side.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
then one more,
spend it for that.
Miss,
purpose.
is Miss Alice, you still there?
I'm here.
You would, do you want me to discuss,
I'll mention it.
Okay,
I'll
go
mention
ahead.
I had requested that some monies be put aside. I gave an amount of 30,000 and you guys can tell me if that's crazy or if there's more that's needed, but the thought was to have money set aside. So, I was talking to Officer Singer briefly about, brainstorming some types of things that we could do with respect to when when the kids are coming back to school, these kids that are getting into trouble, and how we can reach them. And one of the things that we came up with, and it has not been flushed out or thought out, it's an idea, but I just want to make sure we have money for it, is the idea to have this kind of real talk, like get them in the room, have some speakers come in, speakers that were headed down that same path at that age. And maybe hopefully they can connect with them and maybe make it, if it works and it's successful and we feel like this is good, maybe it's something that we can make as part of the reentry process, as like something that they have to do to it's kind of like taking your medicine kind of thing, but then you're happy you took it because, maybe it's a life-changing thing. I mean,
Yeah.
and then the other part of it was, if the school committee wants to have open forums where, where parents can come and meet the school committee, or students want to come directly and just meet the school committee. I just know that those types of events, that there's charges that go along with that for like janitors and other things. I don't know what that runs, but I guess my request was just to have some money aside so that if we came up with a great idea and we could put it into fruition, the funds would be there for us to move on it.
Perfect. We can make that happen and we can just give it more of a, broad generic title that would cover all of those things Aisha just said. So
Yes.
however we decide to use it,
So,
it'll be covered.
motion to
Okay.
expense motion to place aside $30,000 for, community events to,
John, before you make that motion, can somebody speak to whether that amount would be sufficient to have a series of sort of community events?
I
It
think
sounds
if-
sufficient to me, but I could also host on spaghetti, so.
Yeah, because I'm thinking that, usually when we have speakers come in, it's like a $2,000 to $3,000
Okay,
to do like a 1 hour or an hour and a half, whatever we want to do. So we could even have a series of them that wouldn't encompass the whole 30,000. And then if we got tight on money, we do budget every year some overtime for custodians. So because we can't predict exactly what the year's gonna bring. But so we have some money there if we needed it to pay for the custodians to keep the building open for those events. So I think 30,000 is a good number.
okay, thank you, John. If you could put that forward, that'd be wonderful.
so motion is to put $30,000 aside for community forums, community events to help reach out to parents, to provide for speakers, possibly food and custodial expenses. Second,
Make the motion to not to exceed $30,000. You can't just keep making motions to spend money without a cap on it.
We put a cap on 30,000. We're over 30, I don't say more. It shouldn't have seen all we gave it to 30. You have to come back and ask it again. Well, it's not to exceed, yeah, not to exceed 30, okay.
Withdraw.
you
Can even get a second. Nice country.
second, how's that? The motion,
Withdraw the motion.
No, wait, why? Why?
we're giving.
Why are we capping? We're talking about these issues that are plaguing the schools and that are plaguing our community. And there's obviously work that needs to be done in order to reach these kids and the parents and to put it's gonna cost money to put these things into action. Like, if it's $35,000, I don't want to be prohibited from being able to do good work because we don't want to spend more than $30,000.
So
That's
maybe
crazy.
it'll
This is
help
a
if
time
we-
for action.
Yeah, let me give a little update on where we are. So when we eliminate the 3 campus supervisors, that's the 42,000. That leaves our carrying forward number at 173. And then, John, what was the number that you gave for the playground?
It's 65.
65,
They still-
okay. So that still leaves us, so if we take that 65 off. And the, let's call it 30 right now that Aisha is talking about. We still have 78,000 in carry forward that the committee could decide in November that they want to spend on. 5,000 more on the community events or the whole 70,000 on some other thing that might come up between now and then.
Agreed.
So there'll still be that pocket of money sitting there, if it's needed.
So.
Okay.
Motion, substitute, that you withdraw, roll call on motion to put $30,000 aside for community forums, to pay for custodial overtime, possibly food, speakers, or whatever was needed to engage the community on a wide variety of events going on in the city during the next year. Second, someone second. Roll call.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Unless you have something else.
I have some more.
Thank you.
Did you guys vote the Lincoln playground? I don't think you actually took a vote.
But we're gonna do that. Motion to set aside $65,000, up to $65,000 to make say repairs to improve the Lincoln Early Childhood Playground. Basically including a new rubber flooring. I don't know if flooring is the right word, but a new rubber surface. and possibly another piece of playground equipment and to forthwith replace, I would say replace, I don't think they're repairable, but I'm not a fits person. Replace the gates at the playground sooner. The rest of the project can be wait till the spring, in my humble opinion. So the motion is to cover the 65,000 to improve the Lincoln early childhood program.
Second.
Roll call.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry.
Got there anyway. Okay. All right, you have one word. So yeah, there's one other item. I've been going through my notes and on everything, and I noticed this contract here being involved in negotiations, it's been, we've been very generous. And the one thing we could, to school committees, I get to compare the budgets and, I'm sitting down with Matt, I'm scared in the next 3-4 years, we're gonna have some problems, about everything. But one thing we left out is, and I think I talked briefly before about it, some of the people that are on the negotiating team, like, this is a good one. And I made class comparisons to what we can't afford, and I saw Matt, who I don't think he's covering it, just
You mean non-union employees?
right.
Yeah,
With the
yeah.
union employees. And we've done a lot for the union employees, but we haven't really done a little bit better for the non-union employees. And what I'm looking for is about for those positions. And when I look at, I compared Dougie, Goodwin's, salary to what we have broken out. We have 2 people, maybe less money, but doing not even what he has. And Matt, my experience with Matt, I mean, we were there for the that time with the book club, and we, there was the
Matt is,
yeah,
the security person?
the
Oh,
security,
okay, yeah.
right? I mean, the guy never left his post, challenges everybody, and we have people up at the boat that does the same thing when they come in. And they may, I'm not gonna go into how much they make, but they make. And what I'm looking for is like some sort of bump for, I'm not sure how many of those people we have.
We have a lot, and what typically this school committee does is after they vote to approve the AFSCME raises, they then take a vote to extend those raises to all non-union employees. That's how we,
Right, but a lot of some of those contracts have perks. Perks. And these people don't really get anything. And if we have to compare what Doug makes,
I don't think it's appropriate for us to be talking about individual people's salaries.
okay, I apologize. The non-union people, I think they need a bump, but I don't know what all the non-people.
All of our security people, all of our technology people, all of our, student support specialists, all of our parent liaisons, there are about, I'd say 150. Would you say, would you guess?
Yes, and other miscellaneous positions fall under a non-union banner. It's probably complex enough.
That would probably, I'll sit down with you as far as. And we can go over what position. I'll withdraw it and then. And come back to you. Okay. Thank you. Anything else? I don't know. No. So, most to adjourn. So I do have a question, I think it's.
Thanks, everybody.